Making their national television debut, here's Passenger.
All right. This is Scott Lanningham with another episode of SL Radio, and I am thrilled to have these cool cats with me tonight. Some guys that I worshipped when I first moved to Austin. I don't worship them anymore, honestly, but because I get to play with them now and then. But they're still way up there for me. Passenger is what they went by back then. But, all these guys have made wonderful careers in their own right. And I'm just so happy to have them with me tonight. All friends and people I look up to and have been mentors to me. So that was a cut of Passenger from Austin City Limits years ago. And I'm sure the copyright police will be after me at some point for doing that. But anyway, let's say hello to from the top left. That's Paul Ostermayer, who you saw on saxophone. Right below him, Mitch Watkins, who is guitarist. Steve Meador to the right of him, the drummer. Roscoe Beck down below, bassist. Welcome, guys. Did I have you muted? I'm afraid I must have you muted. Hold on a second, because I'm not hearing you. Unmute.
While we're muted.
There we go.
There we go. Now I can hear you. No wonder you were so quiet.
Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hey, and by the way, our special guest is in the waiting room. Shall we bring her in too?
Oh yeah, please do.
Hey, Scott, turn off your screen sharing while you're there.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to keep that on in case we want to play another video.
Okay.
And then I'll go back. I'm afraid if I turn it off, something horrible might happen.
Did you send a link to join this on Facebook or something?
I absolutely did.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Jenny. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jenny.
Long time no see.
Wow.
Indeed.
No kidding.
This is so cool, you coming on. Thank you so much for doing this. This is fun.
Oh, thank you. And thank the dog.
And for
That's my dog. Sorry.
For those of you watching, it says Jennifer. That's Jennifer Warnes there that just joined. And these guys go back a long way together. All of them performing together and in her music and with Leonard Cohen. And that's some of the stuff we hope to get into. And we're so thrilled to have her be a part of this tonight. So as I was telling the guys, Jennifer, I'm even though I've been doing video for IBM for ages, I'm sort of a beginner at this streaming lots of people at once. So if anything horrible happens, it was not intentional, meaning everybody suddenly vanishes or the sound goes off or whatever. It'll come back, I promise.
Okay.
The only problem we may have is that I have a bunch of kids and they're all gaming right now, and I may have to go downstairs and tell them to lighten up on the games for a minute because they're going to steal all my bandwidth. But hey, go ahead, Mitch.
Tell them to go back to something 8-bit like Pac-Man or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Before we get into whatever you guys want to talk about and some of the things we visited about, I just wanted to know how everybody's doing, how you're coping with this situation. Anybody want to share any thoughts?
It sucks.
Amen.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's
Mitch likes it.
It's like nothing I've ever experienced, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's really scary. Oops, sorry, just ran into the.
And have you felt the way I have felt that, some of us, we have periods when we're home a lot and maybe, we're kind of sequestered for a while, but this idea that at least maybe it's feeling a little different now, I don't know, but for the first month, it was like there's this invisible fence around my property, and it's like, if I go out of the driveway, even to go across to the mailbox, I almost feel like I'm, venturing beyond into some unknown. It's a strange feeling. It really is.
But musicians know how to sequester.
Yeah.
Musicians know how to be home and listen to their own muses. So I think we have an edge on people that have to get up and go out out there every day. I think it's
probably
easier.
true.
Yeah, we go to our hotel rooms and hide there, so we're used to it.
We know how to order up.
So what are you?
Yeah,
what,
about
are,
2 weeks.
what are you ordering from
Not
home
2
now?
weeks worth in advance.
Are you ordering up, or you just did you stack up the refrigerator and you're just making a bunch of food yourself? What are you?
A
all
little
doing?
of everything. A
Yeah.
little of everything.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky to to be in a city where there's all kinds of chances to get food.
Yeah.
But it's weird. There's no way around it. But here we are. So if it brought us
So this
together,
is
isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
The traffic's kind of like when I moved here in '71.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? It was the traffic. That was just sarcasm, right? There wasn't something weird in '71 that happened.
No, I mean, there's just nobody.
He lived
There's
here.
very little traffic on the streets, is what
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh, you
It's-
mean
No.
now the traffic
Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 I see. Yeah, I see what you mean.
No, I went to North Austin yesterday, Cedar Park, and then went and looked at a property on Burnett Road. So I drove up and down 183 for several miles, and it was like before they even built the highway. Very little traffic, very pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's very pleasant out. Nobody's out, and the air is clean.
When that video was shot, what year was that? When you guys were on Austin City Limits, the one we just watched. What year was that?
1981, or was it 80? 80, I think.
80. Okay.
Was it before we went out with Leonard or after?
No, it was after the first tour.
Yeah,
Was it
had to
after
be
the
80.
second
it was 80. It
Had to
was
be
80.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 80.
So that's the year.
January,
That's
right?
the year I moved to Austin.
February.
Yeah. And I saw you guys at.
Oh yeah.
I saw you at Armadillo World Headquarters Beer Garden. I think didn't you play in the Beer
Yeah.
Garden? And I saw you there, and I saw you at a
Wow.
club called Third Coast. And
Mhm.
and I was like,
Yeah.
man, I remember the first time I came up to say hello, and I didn't get very far with the hellos the first time. It's not that you weren't friendly; it's just that I looked like I had just arrived from Amarillo, so which I had.
Oh,
Well,
You
I
were the
couldn't have
most-
related to that. So
you were the most
That
fresh-faced
armadillo
kid.
Do what, Paul?
What a fresh-faced kid you were.
Yeah.
That clean-cut look. You were beautiful.
What happened to that? Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little grizzled.
Yeah.
well, didn't we all?
I wonder if
Didn't
you,
we all?
Roscoe, I wonder if you could, because it's so cool to have Jennifer join, I wonder if you could give people a little background, and then maybe we could play, we have one tune of you guys with her that got queued up, and I wonder if you could give us a little something of how you guys came to know each other and got involved musically.
Well, simply that was through Leonard Cohen. And it all happened the year before that Austin City Limits in 1979. By a series of fortunate accidents, the entire band ended up finishing a record of Leonard Cohen's called Recent Songs. We didn't meet Jennifer at that point because she wasn't there for the tracking sessions.
Right.
But she came in and did her vocals after. And then Leonard had invited us to go to Europe that fall, and we met at SIR for the rehearsals. That's where we first
Right.
met.
Right.
And I remember that Jennifer had a song on the radio at the time.
We did?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I don't
Was
know.
it was, which one was it? The Right Time of the Night?
No, it was after that song had already been out. No, it was
Feeling-
either When the Feeling Comes Around. I think
Yeah.
That's what it
was
Yeah.
getting some airplay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where does this one come from that Paul laid on me? Shot in the heart, shot through the heart. Is that the name of it? Jennifer?
KPFK, the KPFK show.
Well, that was the
That was
same.
great, wasn't it?
That was the same album, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Shot Through the Heart is the record that When the Feeling Comes Around
Right.
came
Right.
off of.
Right.
And that was after Leonard's tour also, right?
No, that was,
That was-
that was kind of simultaneous to that. But
Was it?
but after the tour and everybody went home after Leonard's tour, that's when we there was a feeling of emptiness after the tour, and we wanted to keep that excitement going. So we started to dream up artistic projects that would keep that momentum going. And I came out to Austin a couple times and saw you guys at the Armadillo and the Tree House and different clubs, and we started to make music and do things, and out of that, came a lot of great music. But mostly it was hard to find a band like theirs, and they didn't live in LA. Then they were very much together and very tight. So I had to go there in order to experience the band, and it was really a fantastic education. It was a real experimental time, and it was pretty great. They were playing music that nobody was playing in Austin. It was entirely new, and it was kind of reminiscent of Weather Report, and everybody had such a high degree of musicianship that it was hard for me in LA to find guys that played in tune that liked each other, and that had been together a long time, and that were readers and had these beautiful, they were always in tune with each other, which was so bizarre. And it was a real band. So how could I, pass that up? And I would play whatever clubs, sing a song, one song here, one song there. But out of that came a few nice, recordings of, demos and things that we did. Out of that came writing with Bill Ginn, which was fantastic. Bill Ginn.
Scott's about to play. Yeah, well, we could talk about Bill Ginn too.
Yeah.
Which we should. Before we play this, we ought to mention.
To play. Yeah. The KPFK radio broadcast was very special to me in my memory. That was an awesome thing. We rehearsed a lot, as I recall, and got very tight on that stuff. And when it came time to record the live radio broadcast, we were ready. I mean, I went back and listened to that stuff, and it's good.
What blows my mind is that show we did in Munich, just after Famous Flamenco came out, and we went and we did the entire album top to bottom, and it sounds like the record. And it was just a live show, and with a funky sound system, but it just rich. So what you guys were able to do whenever you played together with me anyway, was you filled the space. It was like being with an orchestra, because Mitch's, his tones, and everybody was just so, they filled their spot. So it was real rich. And I think Leonard benefited from that quite a bit, because he had music that was played on a, gut string acoustic guitar, Suzanne Takes You Down. They were folk songs until you guys got a hold of them, and then they became works of art. And I think it changed the way he recorded everything after that.
Wow.
Yeah, we should mention Bill Ginn was an essential member of Passenger, the keyboardist in the band, and
where's his picture, Scott?
Yeah, let's put that. You know what? I'm going to put up a photo of Passenger, because I was going to play it when we were. I was going to show it when we were playing the tune. But,
Bill's the short one.
Yeah. Oh, aren't these handsome boys?
Look at those guys.
Wow. Very cool.
So how old was everybody
Bill
in that
looks
shot?
like he's 12.
How old was everybody in that shot? I mean, 20s?
That is 79. That is right before we went to Europe.
Wow.
I'm
I think
27.
I'm the oldest. I was 28.
Yeah, I was 27.
Wow.
Are you the oldest, Paul, in the band?
Yeah,
Because I was going
And
to
then
try to
just a little bit.
try to
was-
guess who was the oldest.
Bill was 27. Roscoe, you're probably what, 26?
25.
25.
Just a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Just a young man with a dream.
A punk.
punk,
That's a kid with a crazy
like it.
dream.
That's a song. Don't bring your dreams here. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill passed away in 2004.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And
And he is sorely missed.
He sure
I-
is.
yeah,
Sorely
that's-
missed.
Yeah.
Amazing player.
was fortunate enough to attend his funeral, and it was an experience I'll never forget.
Oh.
Wow.
You know,
You
not-
went you went to Mississippi?
As it was, I was in Pensacola, Florida, working a hurricane. Jackson, Mississippi, which is his hometown, it was a few hours away, and I thought, well, I'll just drive up there and go to the funeral. And
That's great.
I was the only other person outside of his family at the funeral.
Oh.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it was a joyous occasion, as it could be. Leonard played Tacoma Trailer as the music, and it was a moving experience.
Oh my.
Well,
Well,
he was
thanks for representing.
Yeah.
Well, I was lucky to be there. So
You know, not long in the last year or so of Bill's life, he and I corresponded now and then over the phone and talked, and he sent me a big envelope full of a bunch of scores from sessions that he'd done copy work on for people like Jeremy Lubbock and others.
Oh.
And
yeah.
It's amazing stuff. And
They're works of art.
They
They're
are.
works of art.
just his calligraphy was like amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
Well,
one
you
of-
know, the University of Mississippi at Jackson has a library dedicated to Bill.
Wow.
And they've got a repository of all of his stuff that somehow or another ended up with his family in Mississippi. I've got a garage full of demo tapes, jingles, old
Mhm.
charts,
Oh,
all this stuff. So
he did so
Oh,
many great
yeah.
things. There was Jennifer, you did a Christmas recording for Hallmark or something, right? And didn't Bill? And
oh yes.
what was that tune? That arrangement was haunting. It was We Three Kings or
Well,
something like
we
that.
we did God Rest You Merry
Oh,
Gentlemen. and
That's
then
the
we
one I'm
did,
thinking.
I'll Be Home for Christmas and one other, I can't remember the name, but Hallmark gave me the London Symphony. Here, Jennifer, take the London Symphony. But I didn't have
Wow.
I didn't have anybody to write for it. And I just went, Bill Ginn, Bill Ginn,
And Steve Barber, right?
Barber,
Yeah.
come on to London. So I brought them to London, and the two of them just, poured over paper for weeks and weeks
Wow.
and sweated bullets, because apparently you can't be a young green American standing in front of the London Symphony. They give you all kinds of trouble, and they make you feel foolish and stuff like that. So it was pretty scary for both of them. But listen to those tapes. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, gorgeous.
We
gorgeous
used
stuff.
to play that all the time. We just loved that in our house. That was a gorgeous recording. Is
Oh.
Bill on this recording of Shot Through the Heart, Paul? The live?
Oh,
thing?
yeah. Oh,
Yes.
Should I play it?
And that's all of us singing, I think.
Oh, is that because I
Well,
love this? I love the vocals. It's cool.
Oh,
I don't-
I haven't heard this.
I don't think I get to sing.
Yeah, you sang, too. Well, maybe not on this one.
On the
You sang-
acapella tune.
You
No,
sang
if
the
Sang on the acapella too.
If-
you sang
if
on
I-
the barbershop number.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, really?
If I sang, yeah, if I sang on this, I was way in the back, away from the microphone.
So if you sing on, let's see if we can pick out Steve on this recording then. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Try it.
All right, I'm gonna play. Shot Through the Heart, a live recording in 1981 from on radio station KPFK. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Los Angeles.
Was
All
that
right.
Howard and Ross Larman?
Yes.
And I'm going to mute everybody for a second in case any dogs bark and disturb the tune, and then I'll bring you all back when it's done. Okay? You'll hear it though. Here we go.
Okay.
The first thing that dies is the light from the eyes. You don't think a lover can tell when the fire is gone in a coal miner's sun, like the ringing of the roundy bell. It begins in the south, like a kiss on the mouth, like a friend in the still of the night, but ends with your hearts in pieces and parts, in a cab, in a cold gray light.
Shot from the right,
There goes the gunman.
shot from the left,
Oh, they let him go free.
shot through the heart. Oh,
Such a young one. Why you do this to me? I was just trying to get free. While cupping your hand round a cold ale can, you're quietly doing me in. Now that it's done, you believe in no one, and you see it again and again. I'm packing my bags, I want you to cheer. I learned how to do that from you. I'm tossing these bottles and powder's gear. I can't watch it happen to you.
shot from the right,
There goes the gunman.
shot from the left,
Oh, they let him go free.
shot through the heart. Oh,
Such a young one. Did you call out to me? Were you just trying to get free? I fly across the ocean to say that I care. I swear I do anyway. You laugh in my face, you take it in stride, you carefully throw it away.
shot from the right,
There goes the gunman.
shot from the left,
Oh, they let him go free.
shot through the heart. Oh,
Such a young one. Did you call out to me?
shot from the right,
There goes the gunman.
shot from the left,
Oh, they let him go free. Oh, such a young one. Why'd you do this to me? I was just trying to get free.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Was that us singing?
Yes.
Couldn't you hear me?
No, sure.
Those are great
Now let's
vocals.
That's better than the record.
Let's
Well-
lower the key a couple of whole steps and
An octave.
probably do it again.
Up to the
Yeah.
right.
Well, that was Mitch. That was Mitch and Roscoe carrying the high parts on that. You guys
That-
nailed it.
Was
Was
that remixed,
Wow.
Scott?
Yeah.
Did you Scott, remix that, Scott?
No, Paul just sent me the MP3.
No, I had it from years ago.
Sounds
I don't know,
terrific.
I don't remember how I got
It's
it.
really good.
And that was before auto tune.
It's really
Wow.
good. I have the whole thing.
We were
Lights of
really good.
Louisiana sounds great.
Wow.
You know, to me,
Let's
that's
put
an
it out.
example. That's an example of what you were talking about, Jennifer, about the way these guys played together and why that appealed to you so much. Because I know when I first heard them, you know, it was all it reminded me of so many things that I was listening to on records and learning about and playing along with all the time and what I aspired to. There were a lot of bands that I dug, but when I went to hear these guys, it really was like hearing a session in the studio, but hearing it live. You know, the way they were so sensitive to each other dynamically and, like you said,
Yeah.
you know, in every way.
Yes. It was a full meal.
And indeed,
Oh, man.
Meal.
you know, I have.
I'll
ahead.
say this. I'll say this about the band. I was talking to a young musician recently, and it came to my mind that with this band, which was a real band, maybe the most real band I was ever in a sense, I think it was the period of the greatest growth, musical growth that happened. It was very sped up in the period of Passenger, because there was this really nice, friendly competition within us that pushed us all. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it pushed us in our playing, it pushed us in our writing, in a healthy way, because we were all friends. It's funny listening to these things. You know, my overall impression is, wow, nobody ever accused us of laying back. Not in those days. Woo.
Young
But
and restless.
it was tight. I mean, it could be argued too tight, but
We were
but,
punks.
we were. Oh,
Well, you're right, Roscoe. I think we all did come of age as musicians
Yeah.
in this band.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just say, Paul, that solo on that track we heard, I think Jennifer unfortunately did get to hear it, but that was amazing to listen to, and to see Bill and everything
Oh, yeah.
he did to add to it. I needed more guitar in the mix, though, didn't you, Mitch? I couldn't quite hear you, man. It's your tune.
Oh,
You're talking about the one at the top of the show, right?
oh, you're
Roscoe?
talking about the. You're talking about the.
HCA.
Yeah, the Passenger tune,
Oh,
which Jennifer didn't get to hear.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will later. I'll listen later.
And
Oh, yeah.
I've got another one that we could play too. Paul's tune, Flight 121 from that show, and
Well, we can shorten the show and just play the drum solo.
yeah, that's true. You know,
Friendly competition. Yeah.
Well, you got like Mitch's ballad, "Goodbye" or something. I'd love to hear something
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah, like, have you got 24 hours where you don't need to do anything?
that.
well, you
Well,
know,
actually, right now, yes.
So,
You know, Passenger could have made a lot of records.
Play more stuff.
on that subject, you guys remember the first live gig we played with Leonard? It was like a blow-off gig somewhere in Scandinavia.
Well, the first gig was
the
Gothenburg.
Gothenburg.
No, this was like the test gig to set up the PA and the lights and everything and run. And Leonard got up, came out on stage, turned around and says, "And now my band Passenger will play a song." And it went backstage and we had no idea. Didn't we play Goodbye?
That wasn't the first. That wasn't the
That
first
wasn't
gig.
on
though.
the. That wasn't on the first gig. That was That was during the tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was several
Oh.
shows in, and we were caught with our pants down.
Yeah.
But yes,
he-
we did play Goodbye.
Yeah.
he did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good one to pull out of your hat, you know.
Well, it took us what, 8 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's-
but
It was so unexpected.
it was in tune with Leonard's vibe at the time. I mean, we were so subtle.
Well,
So
it was
he was-
also the last time he ever asked us to do it.
right. It's only once.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
It was too long. It was
Yeah.
like-
Pretty-
no,
I think his fans were rabid and they were there to hear him. They
Yep.
you know, we
yeah,
were
Yeah,
just,
they
couldn't
didn't-
wait to
they
get back to Leonard.
we were
they
the
didn't really
backup.
want to hear us play. So
But he had you in his back pocket if needed. If
Yeah.
he needed you for something, you knew that you could deliver that, which is
We could have played a whole set.
yeah, we
We
could have
could've.
played the whole night. We'll be here through Wednesday.
Do you you know, we do have others we could play. We could play Goodbye. I wonder before we do if you know, some of the people listening would probably love to have some sense of you know, you talked, Roscoe, about what a great experience it was and how it may have been the most true band or complete band you'd ever been in, and you've been in so many, all of you. But were you guys in school together at University of Texas, or how did the genesis of Passenger come together?
Well, it started as James Polk and Company, which I think
Yeah.
a lot of people know. And we met in the clubs.
And some of us were going to UT as well.
Right. Well, later on, we were all in the jazz ensemble together, but that's not where we met.
Right.
We probably met around the corner of 15th and Lavaca.
Yeah.
Either at Casablanca or the Blue Parrot, or
Roscoe, when were we playing at the Sheraton with Geneva?
well, that was a little later also.
Geneva Rollins?
We would have met when you guys had Carnival.
Right.
And
Mitch and I and Bill all played with Peggy Lauren and Carnival.
right. And I was working with Bobby Doyle around that time. And that's probably around the time we all met.
Yep.
Because we were next door to each other sometimes, I think.
Well, the Blue Parrot and Casablanca were next door.
Right.
Well,
And-
Rob Lockhart played sax with you at first.
Some, yeah,
How did he hook up with you guys?
through school.
UT
Through
Jazz
UT.
Ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Roscoe, you were instrumental in getting Polk out of retirement, right? James Polk out of retirement to get him to come play with us upstarts.
Yeah, it's amazing to recall the brashness that I had in those days. But I started going over to his house and bugging him. Well, I'd take all the new records, whatever I had, you know, Herbie Hancock and Weather Report. Mitch, you went with me, and I think Steve, you went with me, and you know, play them the records. And hey, man, listen to what's happening. And man, you got to quit IBM. You got to come back and play music. And he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did
And he's still playing.
What did you know? You and you guys all know I play with them on Monday nights, and I have for 7 years. And some of the same kind of stuff you guys were doing, the soul jazz back in the day, you know. And what do you want to say about that time with him? You know, I'm sure he was a mentor to you guys the same way he is to anybody he plays with in this town.
All of us. I think
Yeah.
any one of us could say that.
I was
Well, I
going
mean,
to-
I was fortunate enough to play Happy Hour at Casablanca with James, just B3 and me,
Wow.
for almost a year. And of course, all of you know, but if James didn't really like what you were playing, he would stop the song and say, "Look, go play the drums like this," and he would go bangs, plang, langs, plang, langs, plang, langs, bang, 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 bang. So do it like that. And that's how I learned how to play bebop and, you know, jazz. is James would stop and say, "No, you're doing it wrong. Do it like this." Of course, there was nobody in the club. It's just me and him. So it was almost like going to a rehearsal with James Polk. And I was extremely fortunate. I mean, that just completely turned my playing around.
Well, some of the first material that we played was written by Polk.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have
as
Polk
far
chops,
as
don't you?
as far as original material, it was James that's had all the material, you know.
Yeah.
Is Polk Chops
we could-
one of his originals? Polk Chops?
We
Yeah.
could segue right into Polk Chops.
Yeah, that's some funky stuff right there, man. We should play that. That's good stuff.
And that's with Rob Lockhart.
And we did that without taking speed, ladies and gentlemen.
We did that without overdubs. I mean, that's pretty much head up.
Boy, doesn't it sound like youth, though? Wow.
I mean,
It
it was.
does.
It is funky though. It's funky, very funky.
It's very funky. You know, Steve, what you said about Polk, I call him Pops now. I mean, he really is like, you're around him for very long and he becomes your Pops. You know, that's the truth. He's such a lovely guy. The thing that you said about him saying, don't play that way, play this way. You did that with me when I first met you, and it was so valuable because I didn't know how to play rock. I mean, I'd listened to a bunch of jazz and Dave Brubeck, and I was really into that stuff. And my experience with rock had been somewhat limited because up to a point I had a household that you didn't like it and didn't want to permit it in the house, and then that kind of evolved later. After I moved to Austin, but you said, I remember I came and played you some recording I had just been on, and you said, it's okay up to here. Don't do that you did over there. That's not working, And it was so valuable, and it was so nice that you were willing to say that to me because that's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes people don't want to hurt other people's feelings or whatever, But thank you for doing the same and passing that on, man.
Oh, thank you.
I've never brought the volume down at the end of a phrase in a rock tune since that talk ever. I just blast right through to the downbeat,
Yeah, don't stop. That's the golden rule.
Exactly. Okay, let's listen to Polk now. Polk Chops. It's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
You want me to play about half of it?
Oh, no.
It's too long.
Why don't you play Flight
play the-
121 like you were going to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Or either that or I could just play some of a tune and then I could pan it down and we can talk over it. We can do any of that,
Ah, fancy.
Well, play a little Polk Chops.
I'll play a little. I'll play a little bit and then we'll bring it down.
Yeah,
It's really 10 minutes long? Oh, my God.
Well,
Yeah, well,
9:51. It's close enough,
That's before Geisler got a hold of us.
Oh, my God.
Here, I'm going to
Made
try
us
this.
Play everything 3 or 4 minutes long.
Tell me if you can hear it, but if it's not too loud for you. You
Perfect.
hearing it?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up for a second, then we'll pan it down and chat a little more.
Oh yeah.
So that's not Paul, so we're not going to listen to Rob solo.
Oh,
Oh, Rob's a great
Rob's
player.
great.
Is that Rob?
That's Rob.
yeah,
So
Nice.
Rob's so great.
that's some serious funkiness there. We got to get that tune out of archives and see if we can figure out what to do with it now with Pops.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's some ugly funk.
Oh yeah, yeah. So how long did you guys play together with him? I know you had a Casablanca thing, and was there a Treehouse thing too? How long was that period? All of that.
I don't think James was with us.
Should I
when we
put a
played
dress on?
Treehouse.
Couple of years, right?
Yeah, I better just keep him
78,
on.
79.
So I
It
just
wasn't-
missed it. I just missed it.
James was not in the band that went to the Treehouse. He had already left
No.
for L.A. and was playing with.
Ray
Ray
Charles.
Charles. Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott,
That was
can
some,
you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Is it too loud?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a little distracting.
Okay. Well, that was
Yeah.
too, it's too funky. It's like you just want to turn it up and dance. So we better just turn that off.
Yes,
Right.
it's too many.
Yeah, I may come back after you all say goodnight and just play the whole tune and just, dance around in here. So
I do
Naked,
that a
I
lot.
hope.
I do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we have some recordings of like Rated X. I remember there's a recording of that that's sick.
is that another one of
Oh,
one of Polk's?
That's another one of Polk's.
Another one of Polk's. Yeah.
And Tomas sat in with us on Rated X.
Was it live or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at the Blue
And-
Parrot.
Was it Paul Blakemore that recorded it, right?
Where
I don't
was it?
know. I
Yeah.
thought it was the Blue Parrot.
No. No, it's Casablanca.
Really?
I may have recorded it. I had that 4-track TIAC I brought down and recorded it.
Yeah, maybe. Didn't Paul
Couple
Blakemore
of
do
times.
it one time?
He
Yeah.
did. We had a remote truck.
We had Malcolm.
Malcolm Harper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, Malcolm. Yeah.
Hey, talk a little bit about what it was like in the late 70s in Austin with the Armadillo and all that whole vibe. I mean, I came right at the tail end of it, so I didn't experience the actual, pinnacle of that scene. But you think back on that, I don't want you to be depressed thinking back that the fact that doesn't exist anymore. But how would you describe that Austin music experience at that time? That special time.
Well, Roscoe said it a minute ago. It was the fruition. It was like acres of fruit trees that finally gave, all the fruit was coming off the trees. We were, or Paul said it. It's like it was the pinnacle of each of our careers, and it just blossomed, and everything around us was blossoming too. Over the different clubs, it was all, people were just bursting with music.
Austin was happening.
Everything was happening. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It wasn't any one kind of music.
True.
I mean, the progressive country or the cosmic country or whatever you want to call it. The outlaw country was happening. The blues was happening. Straight ahead jazz was happening. You had Eric Johnson. You had Stevie Ray Vaughan starting to break out. A whole lot of bands. I have to say, I think we were the oddest among them, or at least the most different. We were
I
the,
don't know. Electromagnets were pretty cool. 47 times is pretty cool.
yeah. Well, they were all cool, and
Beto and the Fairlanes, yeah, the whole thing.
yeah, it was all really happening. I remember thinking at the time, God, I wish I could get all of these people on like one record. Really, I mean, all these bands and everything. I mean, that was a little dream I had at the time. Is like get everybody recorded.
Yeah, it would have been quite a time capsule to hear all those
Well, isn't that the
bands.
truth?
Yeah.
You could probably
Yeah.
put something like
was
that
a-
together with all the things that were recorded.
Well, a
right?
lot of people did record, yeah, one way or the other.
It was
Well,
an
that's what gave birth
amazing
to-
time.
That's what gave birth to Austin City Limits, pretty much, was a desire to capture that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Well,
was that. That was in keeping with what was happening in Austin at the time. It was at the Armadillo and other places. It was wide open.
Yeah.
Armadillo was happening, and the clubs were happening, and
I remember
I-
seeing Lindley and Hanny Nasser at the Liberty Lunch, just tore up the place. It was real loud and real amazing stuff. There were a lot of players that came through. We're unafraid to try things because everybody else was trying things.
Well, it really helped that Willie moved back to Austin from Nashville at what would become the peak of his career. And he brought a lot of money and a lot of national attention back to Austin. And, you know, he was the first guest on Austin City Limits.
Mhm.
And, you know, say what you will about his music, he did a lot of good for Austin as a place of high repute in the music business.
Oh yeah,
I love
Yeah.
his music.
we love him. We
Oh,
love
he's
us some.
awesome.
Man,
Love us some Willie.
I got to hear
Mhm.
Poncho and Lefty at least once a week, you know, for the last 25 years. So,
I used to
Yeah,
have
I mean
the-
that was the cool thing. You know, you could hear it all, and I think most of us, like if we weren't playing, we were out. Probably trying to sit in, but if not sitting in, out hearing somebody else.
you know,
And that's what it was like.
the first week that I was in town, the very first thing I did, I walked down Congress Avenue, and Spencer Starnes and Julie Christensen and Fred Walters were playing in a little place, a little tiny little, you know, pub thing. Gambrinus, I think, is what it was called. So I stepped in and I stepped in and listened to them, and I was just, my mind was blown. I'm like, holy cow, this is a music town. Listen to this. And I heard you guys later that week. I heard Tomas somewhere. I walked into Thunderclouds on Riverside, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was sitting there eating a veggie delight, you know, which is how I discovered that beautiful sandwich. I'm like, well, who is that dude that looks like Clint Eastwood sitting over there? I didn't even know who he was, you know. It really was an amazing time. Really was.
Yes, indeed.
Music everywhere. And free,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
You know, since Jennifer didn't see a video, should we play that other Austin City Limits track, Paul's tune? And then
Yeah.
then she can see just how tight of
Like
pants you guys were
121?
wearing. Yeah, everybody's got really tight pants on in that video.
I remember that Jennifer suggested on this show that I wear tennis shoes. And I was
did?
wearing tennis shoes. Yes. Yeah, it wasn't.
Who suggested the yellow sweater?
Jennifer.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
The white
I'm sorry.
the white pants.
I'm sorry.
She had a lot to do with the wardrobe that particular night.
Oh gosh.
Okay, let's
it's
play
true.
it. Let's play that one, and I'll mute
Good to know.
mute you guys so you can listen, and then we'll come back. Oh, yeah.
There. Okay. Right there. You are in the center right there right now.
Okay.
All right. That was very cool.
Wow. Boy,
Yeah,
let
guys.
the horse out of the barn there.
Man, I love your growl at the end. Roscoe. Yeah, that's so cool.
Good to see Billy
Yeah, and
G.
the jumping around didn't hurt either.
Oh yeah, good to see you get nice shots of Bill in the band on that tune.
Yeah.
How great did you have these tapes? It's so neat.
Paul, do you have the whole concert or just those clips, or you got more?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the whole thing.
That's cool. I saw it on TV when I first moved to town. I think it was that season, and I saw it, and I'm trying to remember how I got a bootleg of the audio off of that thing, but I listened to that cassette over and over and over and over, and then I would come and hear you guys at the time, what was called Copus. I think you were debating the other night whether it was Buffalo Grill or Copus at this point.
Buffalo Grill.
It was
to begin with.
in 80. So maybe
that Austin City Limits, I'm beginning to think is 81 because Paul is wearing a Bread and Roses T-shirt.
Right.
that we did in 1980.
Ah.
Right.
I think in the fall of 1980. So I think maybe
That's right.
I think maybe it was early 81 when we taped that show.
Yeah, January 81. I think that's right.
Well, and we haven't mentioned yet the great James Fenner, who's also playing with
Exactly.
us on the record.
You could see him in
at most of our gigs, not all of them, but most of them. Great percussionist.
A wonderful percussionist, and somebody that I've gotten to play with more recently with Christopher Cross when he's been in town, and James. I know about that time is when, that's another artist that came out of Austin around that time that struck gold, and James toured the world with him along with some other Austin guys, that were part of his original band, and then Christopher moved back here a few years ago, and a year and a half ago started this group, this kind of collective thing called Fredonia, and James was drafted to be in that again. So, it just keeps coming full circle, Austin seems a lot bigger than it used to be, but it's still, I think the music community is still pretty tight, At least those of us that knew each other back then. There's a new generation of folks now, but...
I was lucky to be a present when all you guys were becoming yourselves. I got to watch all of that. It was really wonderful. Such high level of musicianship. And I had been around, all the session players and stuff in California, but you guys had spirit. You were free. You were.
Are you saying that we rushed?
All the time.
Well,
always.
All the time. But we should mention what an impact Leonard had on all of us, and
absolutely,
and how much changed during that time too, because what you see on Austin City Limits there, well, that's a good representation of what we were doing around the time we met Jennifer. But Leonard was such an abrupt left turn for us.
For him too.
And for him. Mm-hmm. And but I think it changed all of our perspectives, all of our outlooks.
Absolutely.
And you can see even there's somewhat of a jump between Shot Through the Heart, which you played, and the Passenger music, where it's like there was almost never a vocal in Passenger unless I had a beer and decided to sing a blues or something. But and there we are doing 3-4 part harmony with Jennifer. I mean, right away there's an evident change. But Leonard changed our whole musical outlook. I think I speak for all
Sure.
of us when I say
Absolutely.
I can
That was part of
vividly,
what I meant by coming of age. He was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can vividly remember some of our early rehearsals with Leonard and finding out that my part was only going to be playing like a 6/8 blues with, just do whack, do. I'm going to do this all night. And,
You're the
and
drum machine.
the first time we went on stage, because I'd never heard of Leonard or seen Leonard or had any of his records or anything. And the first time we went on stage, we all went out there, and this was a 2,500 seat concert hall in Europe. And it was packed. And we all amble out there and take our places. And Leonard walks on stage. There's a standing ovation for at least a minute and a half before he ever plays a note.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is this? And we start the first song, and once they find out what the song is, there's another standing ovation. And we play for 3 hours. At the end of the night, he has to come back and play 4 or 5 encores. And I'm going, wait a minute, I'm missing something here.
I counted 8 one night.
And it, over the years, I think my most valuable lesson from Leonard is I've learned to treat my choice of musical notes with as much thought and reflection as he chooses words in his poems.
Well said.
Yeah.
That's what I have learned from Leonard, and the gravity of what each note played correctly can do. And Jennifer, certainly I think that your singing relates to me on that level. I've always been moved by your mastery of technique and nuance and melody, but the honesty with which you've found to be able to sing with has always just been incredibly impressive to me.
Oh,
Yay, Jenny.
I'm so touched by what you're saying, and you're saying, speaking for all of us, I think, that he changed everything. But thank you for saying that.
And so did you, Jenny.
Oh, yeah.
And so did you. You changed perspective for me as well. Your amazing sense of melody right away influenced me.
Well, thank you. It's hard to receive that, but I'm trying to. Well,
let's just be honest. It's like.
Well, thank you.
Leonard and you through Leonard. I mean, it changed our whole landscape, and we all went on to play with Leonard, even bits and pieces, not all of Passenger, but Paul played with Leonard again, and Mitch played with him in '84, and Steve played on The Future, and and Mitch and I played to the very last concert. It's an amazing experience from the very beginning in 1979, but right to the last concert.
Yeah.
What I would like to tell the people that are watching this whatever we're doing here, it was if music is a place you go to, like if it's a locale, if it's a place, you and I, all these gentlemen and I were fortunate, and Sharon and others were fortunate to attend that location, to show up and go there on many occasions. And if you've had that experience, it's like collectively you're participating in a collective soul moment that just will never be forgotten. It is so beautiful, and it's so powerful. and you're doing it together. And I didn't even know you guys at the beginning, so we were going as strangers in the beginning, and then that made us friends. And if I could give one thing to the people out there, it's that I wish you could feel what it feels like to stand on stage with these people and Leonard and experience that, because it was some nights, it was transformative, it was transporting, or I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Transcendent.
Yeah, there you go. And gee, were we lucky.
It's hard to describe to someone who wasn't there.
I'm trying though, but you say
you.
what it was, Mitch. What was it?
Oh, I mean, I think you did as good a job as can be done. Just an experience that can only it hasn't been duplicated. I mean, it's come close in other ensembles, other groups, but consistently to get that trance going every night. There was nothing like me.
Well, I always saw it. I always saw it like before Leonard, we were a jazz band, young jazz players. And the way we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish was by wowing everybody. You get out there and you play your ass off, and you play with a lot of energy and fast notes, and you try to make it legitimate and, something that a real jazz player would be jazzed to hear you play, but you don't really know how to get there. But then with Leonard, we learned how it doesn't work to go around Leonard to get to the audience. You're not going to wow the audience by going, doing your thing around Leonard. You have to go through Leonard, right? And he's so awesome and just so humble and centered and focused, and the whole audience is watching him. It's a transformative experience, transcendent. That's how I always saw it.
It pretty much put my pop career in the dumper.
Oh, well, I was going to mention. I was going to mention when "Shot Through the Heart" was brought up, that okay, so we started rehearsals in late 1979 to go to Europe, and that's where we met Jennifer at SIR
rehearsing
for that tour, and she did have a song on the radio at the time.
Yeah.
So touring with Leonard Cohen was not what Clive Davis or Arista Records wanted you to be doing right then.
No, absolutely not.
So
not okay.
Once again, Jennifer made the artistic choice as opposed to the easy choice, which would have been to play ball with Clive Davis.
So
but Joni Mitchell was doing it with Weather Report. She was already out there, cutting down trees. And
that's true. She was doing well. She was doing what we went out there to do.
And Henry Louis had the sense to find you guys. He found you, and he brought you into Leonard.
Well, he was looking for a band for Joni.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he wanted to put us with Joni, and to recall how brash and green we were. When Leonard asked us to do the tour in late '79, we said, well, we'll have to let you know because we got to see what Joni says. When I think of that, I just...
Wow.
We said that?
I think I did, frankly, but Steve might have. One of us did.
Huh.
Just said, we got to wait and hear from Joni. I remember this all very clearly, and we hightailed it back to Austin because we were all broke from living at the Hallmark and other places. So we had to go play our gig. We had to go play our gigs to pay our bills. And meanwhile, we're waiting for Henry Louis to call and tell us what's up. And finally, Recent Song comes out. And Henry sends us a copy. We got together at Bill Ginn's house and listened to recent songs listened to the whole record. And now we're starting to really wonder. We called Henry. I remember this phone call. Called up Henry and said, Henry, thanks for sending the record. And yeah, we've all heard it and it's great. What do we do? And he went, boys, take the tour with Leonard. I could recall that clearly. And fortunately, he hadn't completely given up on us yet. But Jennifer, I do remember you telling me that he was at the point of giving up on us, because he said, you had told me at the time, later on that is, that he had come to you at some point and said, oh, well, it looks like my boys from Texas aren't going to come through. Something like that. So we probably came within a hair's breadth of just totally blowing that situation.
Oh, so you were playing poker with him?
No, we weren't. It was honest. Henry had brought us out there to work with Joni, and that's what we're itching to do. Mm-hmm. But Joni had her own ideas, obviously, and
she also had Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter.
I was going to say she had the A team. So what does she want with these guys? But Henry utilized us to finish recent songs, which was about half done. And then Leonard offered us the tour, but we were still thinking maybe something was going to happen with Joni when the record was done. When her Mingus record was done.
Yeah.
And we were looking for guidance from Henry, and we didn't get it until finally the Recent Songs record came out. Boys, take the tour with Leonard.
Well, there's a lot of people who say a lot of things about Leonard Cohen now, and everybody has a different opinion, and they all love him for different reasons. But for me, after all these years, I look back on his body of work and I really enjoy the records that you played on. I enjoy it was Recent Songs, and it was Field Commander Cohen.
Mm-hmm. It was the live record that you were on as well. Yeah,
but the sonics of that was really pleasurable. It was like a Rembrandt colors, it was real rich and real, just not too much, not too little. So when I listened to, because later he did all that Casio tone stuff and a lot of the disco, Euro disco sounds, and I didn't really like a lot of that. But what the sweet spot of Leonard's career was when you guys started to push his music forward and make it more musical and make it more, sophisticated, I guess. Less.
Were they supporting the poetry?
Rafi and John Belazikian on it didn't hurt either.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Right. Rafi Akopian and John Belazikian. Yeah.
We had a gypsy violin player that could bring an entire 5,000 people to tears.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah, and a gypsy.
Yeah. And that was a remarkable, remarkable thing. We were somewhere between, Russian gypsy, polka, Greek dance, European folk music.
Mm-hmm.
I remember every night his big solo on "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye." I remember watching him. We were on opposite sides of the stage, and I could see the rosin rising from his bow under the lights, and he's doing amazing stuff, and he's like he's on fire.
Especially after a couple of vodkas, right?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of bottles of vodka, yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Wow. Oh golly.
Oh, guys.
I saw that rosin also.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sure
Well, you know, Ry Cooder was doing
Brilliant.
the Tex-Mex chicken skin music thing around that time, and he was mixing things up pretty heavily. And so when Leonard did it, was like, yeah, let's do that. And it kind of didn't he try to do that with the last tour, Mitch? Did he try to mix it up a lot? Or I guess Roscoe put the band together, he would know. Was he trying to make a statement in the last tour?
Well, no, I think he just wanted to present all the music. I think he felt all along this is the last go round, however long it lasts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the very end, the last leg, he was talking about doing some more, maybe the next year or something, but it was kind of wishful thinking. So he was really presenting the music more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the presentation became so important, and the band became so important that the band be quiet. Really quiet, so it could be orchestrated. No, you know, I mean, it suited him, and I said to him at one point, I said, well, it only took us 30 years to get it right. You know, because what was central, of course, was him and the words, and every word had to be heard, you know, and God, when we were in our 20s, we were slam bam, you know, we couldn't help ourselves. But
over the top all the time.
Yeah, that's Paul was saying. That's where we were coming from. It's like, let's impress somebody, you know.
Yeah.
But didn't you get the feeling he was enjoying it? He was enjoying the high energy, and sometimes he would yell and.
Oh yeah, no, he was still, you know,
really we were enjoy it.
Yeah, he was still in his 40s. You know, we were in our 20s.
Right.
He was in his 40s, and he was still happy to be a kid. You know, you know, he'd drop trowel, or you know, he was right there with us. You know, we called him Lenny, and he was fine with it. You know,
he called you. He said the jazz police are coming to get you.
Yeah.
You know, he played some of those sideways notes. He was very upset about that.
He learned to love them, just as we learned to love the C chord.
The triad. I mean,
and his chop.
His chop, singular.
I tell you what, his chop is amazing, because you try to play that chop and sing Avalanche at the same time. I have. That's no mean feat.
You mean that
triplets and sing the whole time
while doing Pilates on stage, right?
That was one impressive chop, when you consider he was singing also.
Now, what was your experience of Bread and Roses, you guys? What do you remember anything about that show?
Yeah, you remember that the PA wouldn't work.
Robin Williams.
Beginning of the show, and Robin Williams went out and did 30 minutes of stand-up by himself in front of 10,000 people.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And everybody was sick by the time he was through because they'd laughed so much.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Between all the sets.
Funny. Well, he was not just funny, he was inspirational. He would build them up to this inspirational. I remember the birds flew over, and he made that part of his thing. And it was beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
It's funny, that's what we remember about Bread and Roses. Is
well, I mean, he was in between every band. He'd come out and do some. But man, BB King, and we played with both Leonard and Jennifer. So we were the backing band for Leonard and Jennifer, and you know, BB King, Joni Mitchell,
Herbie.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing.
Remember at the hotel where all the artists were staying? We played one chorus of blues with Herbie.
Yeah. Well, we were playing. Passenger had kind of taken over the jam session temporarily.
Right.
And so Bill was at the piano and we were playing a blues, and like Herbie came along and just scooted him off the bench and started playing. And
I know, man.
suddenly we were playing with Herbie Hancock. It's like, okay.
Whoa.
Okay,
Awesome.
this is as it should be.
As it should be. Now we're where we belong. Sorry, Bill.
Wow.
I'm so glad we did that. That was an amazing time, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about, musicians coming together for the spirit of it.
Mimi Farina was so beautiful, and
Mhm.
Joan Baez was cool. The whole
Was
thing
Chris
was.
Christopherson there? Did he play that day?
Anybody remember? I don't.
I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't remember him.
Neil Young was there.
Neil
Mhm.
Young. Mhm. Wow.
Maybe he was Chris's sub.
Bob Duro was there.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Mose Allison.
Mose Allison
was
was there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
cool.
that's a hell of a lineup.
Yep.
Wow. You know, I got to play a gig with Mose not long before he died at the Continental Club. Somebody,
Lucky man.
I'm excuse me, not Mose. Mose was a few years earlier with Blondell. I got to play a gig with Bob Duro at the Continental Club, and somebody brought him in for something. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I know that guy's name. And as soon as he spoke, it was like Blue Christmas, Miles Davis, and the Schoolhouse Rock. And he was such a sweet, interesting, cool, the original Hep Cat. It was really a treat.
Nothing like him has ever been seen before.
Jennifer, I know everything you guys have been saying about Leonard. I appreciate so much. And, Steve talked about being young and not knowing that much about Leonard. When I moved to town, I didn't know, I'd never heard of him before, and the first time I began hearing the music, I was coming from that same young, want to play a lot of notes place. And at first I was like, I didn't quite get it. But as I listened more over time, it really began to grow on me too. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've worked quite a bit with Alejandro Escovedo. And Alejandro has taught me a lot about Leonard because he just truly revered him. And, a different kind of songwriter, but influenced by especially his gentler, more beautiful stuff. You can really hear that Leonard influence. And Mitch and I got to be a part of a performance that Alejandro did in honor of Leonard at the Moody Theater a few years ago.
Yeah.
How
was that?
It was. What did you think,
good.
Mitch? I thought it was cool.
It was fun. Yeah.
And
cool.
the tune that you mentioned that Leonard's Chop. What was the name of the tune? Because we played that night. I think.
Avalanche.
Yeah, remember?
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a. It was basically an avalanche, a true avalanche, sonically all the way down the hill to the bottom. But it was fun. But I remember listening to that recording and going, "Who in the heck is playing that guitar part? That's amazing." So that was
well, the cool thing about that gig is that we did all of Leonard's songs totally different. We didn't try to sound like the records or anything. He just had a totally different approach for all of them, which made it fun.
Yeah. I mean, Avalanche had a lot of punk in it that night.
Yeah.
It was that was fun. This has been. I could talk to you guys forever. There's so many different things to cover. We never even got into Jennifer's gig at the Hollywood Bowl with the 500 accordion players, or what wasn't it something like that?
Later.
Which really that if you think about coming from that sound, then it just even puts more of a stark contrast with what you experienced with Passenger when you first met those guys, right?
Flight of the Bumblebee.
So what maybe we should turn to some final thoughts just about what's going on with you all now. I mean, I think that those that are listening or will hear this, in replay, and many of your fans, I've noticed, I've seen them tuning in on Facebook tonight. Paul Glass and Greg Wilson and Andy Murphy and a lot of other names, people that you guys know from way back when. And what's going on? What's going on with everybody nowadays? You know,
We're looking for a funder to get us all back together again and make some music again. So we're not stuck in our homes.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
That would be great.
Yeah, Mitch and I were talking about trying to find some technology where you can actually play together in real time over the web. That must exist somewhere.
Or we could,
It does actually. I did a demo for some company that was bringing that out about 2 years ago, and we made it work. We I think there were 3 of us in 3 different cities, and we did manage to sync up. But that was about 2 years ago. It was a test run. I'm sure it exists by now.
Was it called Source Elements by chance?
No.
No? Okay. Well, I've heard of that company, but I haven't seen their product yet. But have to check it out.
Do you remember the technology, what it was called, Roscoe?
I'm sorry, I don't. It was a funny thing. It's just one of those things you get paid for, you know. And they flew one guy to Atlanta, and I was here in Austin, and I think somebody else drove to Dallas, and we all hooked up and played. It did work, but it was tricky, you know.
would they let us play together with masks on? We could.
Why not?
Good one.
Why not?
Behind the screen.
Good one. Yeah.
You know, they used to, they baffle you in the recording studios. Maybe it could baffle us against the virus, and we're going to wear masks and we could still do it.
God, if we only had Bill Ginn still here, huh? Jeez.
Must be somebody who can.
Well, the truth is, though, with the 4 of us could still back you, Jenny, and make a pretty good noise, I think.
I know that, and I'm honored to even be able to dream about it. To answer your question, we're all stuck here in our homes, and we're the same musicians we always were, just a little older, but we can still play and still dream, and and it's just weird what's going on in the world. It's very, very odd, and I think all of us really just we want to do our stuff. We want to do what we do, and singly or together, and I think all the musicians that are out there, everybody that I've talked to is just like, what's going on? where are we going to give our stuff? So, I'm sure that it'll take a new form pretty soon, but they ought to hurry up. We ain't getting any younger.
Well, it's certainly going to be needed more than ever. I mean, I worry about the psychological impact, not to mention all the other impacts that this thing is having on people and across the world. And I have some friends, I'm sure we all do, that have dealt with the virus, and some it didn't infect them that much, and some have had a real struggle with it. And it's
I read today that Ray Benson has recovered from it.
Yay!
Yeah,
good to hear.
Well, and I read today that Christopher Geppert is having a difficult time.
Oh, really?
He's still in the middle of some serious symptoms and is unable to walk, and hopefully he's on the road to recovery, but it's going to be a while.
Well, we wish him the best.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, Paul?
I'm the only one that lives far away. You guys are all in Austin. Well, Jenny, you're moving back, right? Is that what I hear?
I'm in Austin presently. In fact, I'm in Roscoe's house. He's just down the hall. But
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I still have fairly young kids. I've got one still in high school, so I'm doing all right. I'm having a pretty good time. I play with a bunch of guys that I like to play with, really good musicians, and we're playing party music all over the world. And then I play with some big bands and an occasional jazz group. But I do long for the camaraderie and the thing we all had. It would be fun to do that again.
Mhm.
So, Scott, why don't you put it together? You produced it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's why I came here. I had a chance to leave, California on many occasions, and last year there was one big occasion, and I told my friends in California, I've been there my whole life. I said, look, music is what I came to do. It's my soul conversation. I belong where that is, so I'm going there, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I've got to go to Austin because that's where the music is. So, maybe we need to, gather here. What do you think?
We're glad to have you. We could get a gig at maybe some
The Elephant Room.
resorts. Some resorts. Do you know Satindal?
No. Do they mind if I sit down? But art is always something that evolves out of the times, and these are our times. We were built for these times, So whatever we are, there's a lot of musicians who are in the same boat, just about expressing that. And Mitch is, still playing everywhere. He does.
I was.
Oh, right.
I mean, I really miss the connections and the fellowship is really.
Yeah.
That's what I miss the most about not being able to go play gigs in public.
Oh, this has been nice.
It sure has.
Well, it sure has. Some nice fellowship and nice connections. Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate
Good.
I appreciate you all, you guys so much. All of you, what you've given, in terms of the music you've been a part of, the music you've made, the example you've given, all of you in your own individual ways as masters at your craft and as the people that you are. I know how much it influenced my life, and to have the chance to hang out with you like this tonight and to hear your stories and to hear things that I've never heard before, I appreciate it so much. Really, thank you.
Pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Do you guys want to hear a goodbye? Do you want to make that our closing tune?
Well, that sounds appropriate.
It does, doesn't it?
Either that one or what's the song, Roscoe song that I sent you?
Which one? Winds of Change. Winds of Time, Winds of something.
Winds of Change. That
I
sounds
love
great.
that song.
Well, that's appropriate.
I love
Why
that.
don't we do that? We haven't played a Roscoe tune. We played a Mitch tune at the top. We played a Paul Ostermayer tune. So why don't we play Winds of Change?
Yep.
Talk about winds of change, Lordy.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all well and safety and health, and I'll track you down again when you start to get bored, and we can jump on and talk about some other stuff.
Cool.
This
Love
is
you
cool.
guys.
Great.
This is cool.
I love you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you, Scott. Love everybody.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Love to everybody. Love you.
Thanks,
you
Scott.
guys.
Thank you guys.
Scott.
Okay, I'm going to play the tune, and I'll. If you all want to hang and listen to it with me, then I'll leave you up on screen. If you don't, I'll put that young picture of you back up again. You make the call. What do you think?
Let's go with the picture.
Okay. All right. Here you go.
Picture. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Not all.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Ciao.